So right now, as you can see, most companies are deploying AI faster. Even in our organization, the time usually what it takes for us to release in 2 to 3 weeks can be done in a single day right now. So if I am a CEO listening to this, what's happening inside my company that probably I do not know about? Um, when I was actually going through your software, I saw something called shadow AI detection. So, from what you have seen, how much unauthorized AI is an average enterprise running without even knowing it? Here is something I am always curious about because so many people say that governance may slow down the AI innovation. What are your thoughts?
Bust. Obsolete. Dead in 3 years. No, will be sued in 3 years. In 3 years, they will be sued in a lawsuit in 3 years. For sure. Dead in 5 years, in a lawsuit in 3 years.
ISO 42001 or EU AI Act? Ulaş Özgüven, the co-founder of VerifyWise.ai, which is a London-based enterprise AI governance tooling company. After studying computer engineering at Queen Mary University of London, he spent the first half of his career at very large companies like Dell, HP, and SS&C, and the second half in global leadership roles at scale-ups until founding multiple ventures, including VerifyWise, which has become one of the biggest forces in the world of AI governance. I have asked a lot of interesting questions to Ulash around AI governance and enterprise AI governance, and I'm sure you're going to love this. All good. Thank you, Ulash, for joining today. I have been researching about AI governance, and we have been offering courses around AI governance. And when I initially saw VerifyWise, I was so interested in knowing about the brand. And not only that, being in this field, I want to actually understand what the other world leaders are thinking about it. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Perfect. Before we even go and talk about AI governance, I really want to go back and say you are originally from Turkey, then you moved to London, Dell, SaaS startups, venture advisory, like so many different things you did. Like, what's connecting them all? Like, from outside, for me, it looks completely different.
Well, so let's be realistic. No one's careers are done exactly to design from the age that they, wanted to be a truck driver or a spaceman. Like we all kind of fall into our careers, right? So let me not pretend everything was by design. However, there has been some overriding themes. From Turkey to London, I was a child refugee, so we kind of went around all over the place and landed in the safe haven of London. I think as a child, now I was born in the 70s, there was no such thing as Silicon Valley or startup culture. All we saw, the big thing that when I was young, I saw that, hey, I want to work for a big company, maybe go around the world, not in wanting to go around the world as opposed to running. So working in a big company, I felt like I needed to earn the stripes. Working in a big company is where I saw credibility. I wanted to do big, complex deals with big, complex companies. And I was thrust into leadership very early and I rejected it because I didn't feel I'd earned the stripes. Now, I don't know if that's because of childhood trauma or really something that's logical, but I felt that I needed to earn stripes. And then when I did, it took me a long time, probably like 15 years or so, working in really big corporates. And then I started to say, okay, do you know what? We can be more innovative. We can be more dynamic. But I saw that whilst I had the creativity in the commercial sense, I never had the initial spark of creating something from zero. So I took a kind of intentional step to work with scale-ups. And once I felt like a global leader, loads of customers from loads of different regions and so forth, then I felt I had enough stripes then to then go into kind of 0-day startups. And even then, I initially thought, well, let me just go and be a wingman and or potentially an acquirer of startups. until I found something that I absolutely fell in love with and was the co-founder.
Perfect. So you were mostly into the privacy and also like information security. When did you actually realize this AI need to be governed? Like AI is the next thing and needs to be governed.
From personal experience. Look, I took some time off to be a full-time dad. And one of the things, in fact, it was last year, at the beginning of last year, me and a buddy of mine, a fellow dad from my child's school, we were overwhelmed with the messages and the emails to do with our child's school. And we said, well, can we just get AI to help us out? And we built this amazing app that we relied on AI to tell me about, was it Red Sox Day tomorrow? And do I have to bring a cardboard box and so forth? It was amazing. And it really solved a whole bunch of problems and it went wild. It went viral. However, what was amazing also is that infuriating was the data set was the same. The prompt was exactly the same, but day to day, AI gave us different outputs. And I wanted predictability and stability. AI did not care about that. And then we started getting, our app then spread out to schools and head teachers, and they said, hey, this is amazing, but can you guarantee safety? This is child safety. We're thinking about, and around that time I realized, I can see the benefits of AI and it's really going to fly, but this thing is unpredictable. So you need some proper systematic thinking to stabilize it or provide safeguards around it, because it's really hard for you to just design it to be stable. It's just not inherently there. It drifts. That's how I got the inspiration.
Interesting. Because initially, probably right now, things are moving forward in a good direction. But when initially, when ChatGPT came in, when we started using models, the hallucination was too much. The models were drifting all the time. Interesting. But just going back, like, at what moment did you realize that I'm done working for everyone and I want to do my own? Like, is there any specific moment that you felt, oh, I need to do this on my own rather than working for someone?
I felt so uncomfortable having people to report to. I would run through walls for a small handful of people that I really trusted. But most people, I felt that I could make better decisions, and I was like a bit of obsessive. I would just go so deep into a subject matter and I would just completely dedicate myself to it. And then I saw that it really bothered me being beholden to other people's mistakes. You see, when you make your own mistake, it doesn't hurt. You fall over, scrape your knee and you go, oh, and you deserved it, right? Because it was your decision. But when someone pushes you over and then you scrape your knee and no, I knew that was going to happen. Why did you push me? That's the feeling is a lot more intense. So I just wanted to fall on by myself. And if I got a bloody nose, then that would have been okay with it. So I think that's when I was working for the big corporates. There were so many layers of decision makers above me that impacted my financial security and my expression of how I could express myself as a professional, how I could use my mind and my energy to get the most productivity out of me. I was always confined. The more bosses I had growing up, the more confined I was, and it just wasn't right for me. In fact, being an entrepreneur makes absolutely no sense. Like, you are far more likely to be poor and stressed out as an entrepreneur than just have a job, and you'll be more wealthy as an employee. However, if you're wired in a certain way, being an employee is just never going to make sense for some people like me. I know this doesn't make sense mathematically, but it makes sense emotionally. That's the issue.
I totally get it. Even when you spoke about like you have to report to so many people, and sometimes even I feel like the creativity that we have cannot be even exposed. Um, Interesting.
And this
So,
is why actually there is
mhm,
now a big movement for many people to, it started off being a contractor, but now
mm,
people, they say, especially when you get to a certain level in your career, you say, look, I have a profile of companies. I have a portfolio, portfolio jobs. We want more control over our destiny. It's an innate human thing. With some people, it bothers us so much that we do it to our financial detriment and emotional detriment. But I think most people have that need to say, hey, look, I need more control over my career.
sure. Mm. I'm sure you must have been searching for doing something in terms of entrepreneurship. But why Verify Voice? Like, who is it for? Like, what made you feel like this is something I need to take to market?
Yeah. It's a combination, it's an accumulation of expertise and things that I saw. So I've worked for, like I said, really big companies, and I've worked with really big companies, particularly in the space of governance, risk, and compliance, identity protection, fraud detection, cybersecurity, all about risk and preventing risk, or no, reducing risk. And I'm also really deep down, like a geek. I just go nuts over tech and try to solve problems, especially if they are difficult, then I'm more attracted to them. So that combo was like, I saw that there is a massive need. AI will transform everything we do. And I also saw I'm wired to detect risk. So I saw the risk in that. And I saw the bigger the organization, the harder it will be for this to be controlled. And you need some systems around it. I got to that realization roughly about spring last year, spring 2025. I started to see, especially with the thing that I built, it was just infuriating. It just would not produce predictable outcomes without building different structures in place. And that's when I saw, okay, you know what, you need some kind of software to help us out, and you also need systems and people architecture to keep this thing safe.
And who is it primarily for?
Anyone,
Mhm.
any organization that uses AI in a way that's critically impactful to the organization. Now, I think if you only have one or less than 5, at least, instances of AI that's really in critical parts of your organization, then you could probably keep track of the risks and evolution of it just by operating it on a day-to-day basis and keep your eye on it. If you are a large company, like hundreds or thousands of employees, then you will find that people are using AI in ways that you don't know about and you don't get told about. And also the number of AI systems that you will have, it's like exponentially difficult to keep track of the risks. So anyone above 5 to 10 AI systems that they're operating inside of the organization, there's no way you can keep track without tooling. So those are the organizations that we have built this for. Reality is that currently any organization with about 500 odd employees are almost there. And in 2030, so in about 4 years' time, this will be almost every company in the world that will have multiple AI systems in this.
So, right.
Everyone is using AI. You don't even know about it. Literally everyone. My mum is using AI. She's over 70 years old, and she doesn't work. Right? So if she's using it on a daily basis, you can be absolutely guaranteed that your employees are using it in 2 ways. One is on their phones, using it like almost like a Google search, but they're also looking to ways to automate stuff. and they won't be telling you because they won't feel they will be still in the experimental stage, and that experimentation doesn't end, and you just won't know about it. It's too easy to create stuff by yourself these days, vibe coding, open source tools. You don't need to ask IT, and this is what's happening right now everywhere across the organization.
So true, so true. I create a lot of lead magnets for our company just by myself, because now Claude Code can create all these HTML pages. I just tell the team, hey, just deploy it.
Yeah.
And it used to be a content writer, first of all, ideation, content writer, designer, developer, which would usually take like 2 weeks to get to place. Because when so many people are working, all the creativity has to go through multiple people. So it takes really longer time. But now all the ideas here and just putting it out, probably like voice, it's magic. So my next question is, I'm really curious about this, because the speed of AI that is being built, do you think this AI governance can catch up? Because I'm keep seeing it, like so many models, software updates, and as you said, like when you have like hundreds of people, people start using so many different AI. Even I was speaking to someone yesterday, and he said that anyway, our company can't pay $100 for Claude, but I'm using it on my system and I'm using it for office work. All the company was not paying; he was using Claude. Like, the speed is more, right? So do you think AI governance can catch up with AI deployment?
So it's like saying, in a country, can the police ever catch up with criminals? It's never ending, right? Like, police will produce, have better tools to detect and catch criminals. Criminals will have new ways of doing crime, right?
Yeah.
So it's always like an ongoing cat and mouse thing, but it's not just malicious. So that's the difference between cybersecurity industry and AI governance industry, because cybersecurity is a lot to do with malicious use. But actually, and that's the same with my analogy about the police, but with AI governance, it's not just malicious use, it's just dangerous in itself, right? So it's just unpredictable in itself. But the benefits always outweigh the risks. If the risks aren't managed, you're never gonna, it is reckless. So the short answer is no, it's never gonna catch up. There will always be risks, but the job of the organization is to protect the company and its users, consumers or customers, that they are doing the right things. There will be scraping of knees, but as long as they've put some kind of structures, people and software, tools, structures in place, then the damage is going to be more limited.
Sure. Is it the same happening with data governance and cybersecurity? You said that still we cannot catch up. Is it what's happening with that too, cybersecurity and data governance?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, cybersecurity has grown from nothing to an absolutely critical part of any organization. And then data has become pretty much nothing to a really critical part of running any kind of organization. And AI will be absolutely in the same way. AI is already a fundamental in how we work. It's like saying having a company without computers. It's just not going to happen. So yes, a very conservative number for today is roughly about 50%. I would guess, I suspect that most employees in an organization is using AI for work. Most people will be.
Sure. So
So most of it is unauthorized, right? So most people are using AI, and it's mostly unauthorized.
sure. And this is something I've been reading this question specifically on Reddit so many times. I spend a lot of time on Reddit. So most people ask about, hey, I'm not a technical person. I do not code with AI, but AI governance feel more interesting. I'm from a non-compliance, non-risk background. How do I get into AI governance? Because there are so many standards, right? Like EU AI Act, ISO 42001, NIST framework. Like, how do someone get into AI governance field?
If someone has decided to
Mm,
go into it, then we have to look at what jurisdiction you are in and want to stay in. All right. It's still geographically fractured at the moment. For example, if you're in whatever region that you're in, you have to look at the standards that are most prevalent in that region and the regulations that are most prevalent in that region. And in fact, you might be coming from a particular domain, like for example, healthcare or financial services. There are regulations and risk considerations specific to that industry. So first think about the context in which you're in, and then think about which AI laws, best practices, and so forth apply to that region, and that would be the best starting point. And get training, right? There are loads of online training courses out there. There are some that are better than others, but the best first you will only know when you start. Like doing lots and lots of research is a waste of time. I think you just have to start, and then you can start to have a feel for what works for you.
Can we say that it's like combination of researching multiple frameworks and understanding and how to implement it in their own organization would be the good place to start? Did I summarize it right?
In their own organization, but also in their own jurisdiction. So you're not thinking about, if someone is already in employment, then they should think about, okay, so how do I make my company or my charity or public sector organization safe? How do we make it safe? And thinking about that in that specific context. But if you're thinking about, I want to be an AI governance professional, so yeah, clearly that's an easy step to think about the company that you're in. But you should also think about what types of organizations are going to have the biggest need for it, and what is it in my region that's going to be the most useful skill set in AI governance.
That makes total sense. But what about people already working in AI? Do they see AI governance as something that's beneficial for them, or is it something like gonna have some problem in terms of their career?
I can't talk about how individuals feel about things, but I can say absolutely, anyone who's working in AI, even anyone working in technology, or anyone working, right? Ignoring safety is reckless, not only for the people around you, but for your own career. There is no way that you can ignore. If you don't build some level of understanding about using AI safely, then you can be assured that you will have some serious problems in months, not years.
Sure. The next thing I actually want to ask you about is, I see more countries are not trying to have any AI laws, especially there is no federal law in United States. And EU AI Act, they actually had their enforcement timeline to be by August 2026. And recently in the European Parliament, they decided to push it on to December 2027. So what's really behind this delay? Like, of course, they are giving a reason, but as one of the key leaders in AI governance space, what do you think? Why do they have this delay?
I'm pretty sure they have had feedback from industry. Literally no one is ready. So AI, what the EU did that was really, really good is they took a deep look at how AI can impact citizens, infrastructure, and organizations, and produced some guidance and regulation on what should be done to minimize the risk. However, when organizations looked at that, they were so behind in putting the safety structures in their organizations that the feedback to the regulators was there is absolutely no way any of us can meet that standard. So they've had to push it back because everyone understood the need now, but nobody was ready. Nobody is ready at the moment.
Sure, that makes sense. I know about GDPR, how strict the European Union was around GDPR. Do you think they are doing the same seriousness with EU AI Act?
More so. It's going to be more. AI represents a more structural risk to both the economy, the social harmony of nations. So it is taken more seriously than GDPR, and people will feel that, organizations will feel that in the coming years when it starts to get into enforcement.
Why do you think so? Why is this happening? Or because you said it's more than GDPR. Why is it so?
So the GDPR is largely focused on individual consumers' data, the harvesting of data, the right to privacy. It's kind of like around those themes. AI impacts safety, not only as an individual, but it would impact national grid, electricity grids, water grids. It's like national critical infrastructure, banking, hospitals, transport, aircraft, everything is driven by AI. It will be driven by AI within the next few years. Everything will be driven by AI. So if AI is not done safely, it doesn't just impact an individual's rights in terms of their identity and their privacy. It will impact their health in a really mass scale. And that's why it's taken a lot more seriously than GDPR.
Sure, that makes sense. So if a company come to you tomorrow and say, hey, we have 200 AI systems running, at least half of them are critical.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you would tell them when they say that, oh, we don't have any governance framework, but we are running all of this? What's the first thing you would tell them?
System of record. Start with having a fit for purpose way of tracking what you have. If you think you have 200, you probably have 2,000, right? And if you're just recording these on a spreadsheet, not something that can be represented in defense, in court, you're going to have serious problems, because what you have in spreadsheet or any other tool that's not fit for that purpose is not going to be enough for you to keep track of not only the use cases that you have, but the evolution and the performance of those use cases. So your baseline first step is to know what you have. The second thing that you need to do is know what is in my external world is going to impact what I have. Everything is an evolution. You can't track everything outside, but if you know what you have inside, then you can start to track that that will impact what you have inside, things like models, use cases, data sets, and so forth. So that's your baseline. Know what you have in your internal universe, know what is impacting your external universe. Once you have that baseline, you can start to then operationalize some kind of governance controls. You can't have controls before you know what you need to control.
And you talked about Excel sheet that is not being accepted. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So AI is inherently has drift, hallucinations, and
bias,
bias, and all those kind of things. It is not stable. It's not static. So at some point, something will go wrong. Something's going to blow up for sure. It may not be a big thing, but just like cybersecurity, there will be a virus that goes into an organization at some point. There will be some kind of breach at some point. And in the same way, AI will misbehave in some way at some point. You have to have something that has integrity in terms of the journey that AI system has taken. Who touched it? Who tested it? What were their test results? Having it proper time-stamped and it being irrefutable, unchangeable, so that when you go to court, you can say, okay, I did my due diligence. You can't prevent everything from happening, but I followed best practice. Now, if you're just keeping things on spreadsheets or inappropriate tools, then you are leaving yourself open to, well, when was that data changed? Who changed the spreadsheet? What was on that spreadsheet before you made those changes? So you need to have that kind of integrity of the testing, and it recorded in a legally enforceable way.
Okay. So is that the base behind the tool that you have developed, VerifyWise? So is that tool well enough to prove that you have done everything well in code?
We only realized that afterwards. So we didn't have that deep vision. So we started off with, okay, so there's some risks here. How do we manage these risks? We looked at kind of best practice controls, and we saw that it was just incredibly hard to do it without a tool to follow controls. But as we were doing it, we realized, oh my goodness, you need to prove that you followed best practice. You need to prove what your systems were saying. Even if you have sunsetted something and you no longer use it, you might need to one day, in 9 months' time or 19 months' time, someone might say to you, hey, the service or product that you provided was sexist, racist, faulty in some way. How are you going to prove it? So we realized, goodness me, so we've built that irrefutability afterwards. I can't claim credit for having that vision initially, but we learned very quickly from what was needed.
Okay. So in this journey, what was the biggest mistake you made in the first year of building VerifyWise? And if you have to build it from scratch again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I think there's both a technical and a business consideration for that. Because I've come from big business, largely, I just thought about, okay, what does big, complex organizations need? And we've made a huge effort to really build something that the most complex, most demanding customers would need. And we waited a very long time before. I mean, we have not spent any money on marketing. We've not really gone out to market. We get inbound because we've made a name for ourselves through the quality of the product. But we could have done with a little bit more Silicon Valley thinking, right? So we had a lot more of the engineering thinking. It needs to be solid. It needs to be secure. It needs to have all the controls and the tools to manage in a large, complex organization. Whereas everyone had zero. Even the most rudimentary product that we had initially, that would have helped them from going zero. We could have helped a lot more people go from 0 to 1. We were we said, we're not going to sell anything. We're not going to go out to market until we have the 10, where it fully meets the most complex of needs. When we actually could have helped out so many other people just by saying, hey, this is beta, or this is kind of the initial phases. So that's I think a lesson. It's a bit of a European thing as well. We could have been a lot more aggressive, but hey, that's okay.
All right. So, do you think, because this is another set of question, like, because the students who study at GAICC, they always have a positive mindset that okay, the AI governance is going to be the future. Um, what do you think? Will AI governance become mandatory infrastructure like cybersecurity and data governance, or is it just nice to have? In your perspective, what's the future going to look like?
In the future, not long, in the very soon future.
Mm.
So first of all, AI governance infrastructure is going to be absolutely mandatory. So infrastructure consists of tooling, people, and process. They have to go together in smaller organizations, and it's actually mandated by regulation as well. So in smaller organization, you still need to have one person at least in the organization who is distinctly responsible for AI safety. Now, this person may wear other hats, but there has to be a really clear person who's holding the grenade. Right? So they are responsible. They're the one that's going to get shouted at or sacked or whatever it is. They are responsible and accountable. Now, the larger you go in terms of your organization, then there will be a chief AI governance officer.
Like CI.
Yeah, exactly, like a CISO. And I think anyone who is in AI and they don't even if they don't want to get into AI governance, they have to know about AI governance. They absolutely will be a chief AI officer. I have no doubt about that. There will be chief AI officers in most organizations, almost every large organization.
It's already happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't become a chief AI officer if you don't have full command of your domain. You wouldn't have a head of sales without a CRM, right? Or you can't have head of finance without the proper accounting tools that they need, and so forth. You need the operating system that's suited for your needs. If you don't have that, you're never going to be able to get onto the C-suite. It's just it. You won't have the information that you need.
Sure. So, this is another interesting thing. Like, assume that there are 10 developers in an organization. How many AI governance professionals do you think you need? Probably you can tell me it's going to be now or in the future. But for every 10 developer, how many AI governance professionals need to be in an organization?
Well, within those 10, every single one of them needs to have a good grasp of AI safety and AI governance. All of them, you need to have that as a mandatory part of your job, all of them.
Sure.
But also, and also within that 10, there has to be one of them who is specifically taking the lead. They all have a responsibility to understand safety. One of them has to have responsibility for leading what safety governance means for their own organization. That's going to be the key person. Within 10 developers, you're not going to have one of them that's full-time that job, but you will absolutely have one of them that has to take the lead in that. And probably whoever takes the lead will probably end up being the head of AI.
Sure. That makes sense. Interesting. Do you think the people who get into AI governance, do they need to be technical, or do they need to have compliance or risk or cybersecurity background, or someone who doesn't have even any of these experience can get into AI governance?
There are two elements with slightly different skill sets within AI governance. One is the people and the process bit, and the other one is the technical controls. The technical controls bit you must have you must really understand how AI works. Now, you don't have to be a developer. However, you need to understand architecture, technical architecture. You need to understand, have a good grasp of information security, and a good grasp of data architecture. And that's really on the kind of the technical controls for AI governance. Now, also though, that's not going to keep the organization safe without having operational workflows. And that's really about systems thinking, people process. So there absolutely is a need for people who understand how process needs to be, governance processes need to be in organizations. So anyone that comes from a kind of like a governance background, or even like business process re-engineering consultants, they will absolutely add a lot of value. Those types of people would probably need to be they would go into a kind of consulting roles where they go to each organization and help them navigate regulatory requirements, best practice, and organizational re-engineering to accommodate for AI governance. Now, there will also be people who are sitting inside organizations that will have to own those controls. Now, those that own the controls, they kind of need to have some technical ability. So for this reason, inside an organization, the grenade or the dynamite that people will pass around, the legal lawyers will say, we absolutely need something, or we're going to get sued. You know, this is just somebody needs to do something. I've done my job by protecting the business. The governance, risk, and compliance people will say, there's regulation coming up. Someone needs to adhere to the regulation and best practice, that we're passing it to each other eventually. And the AI guys will say, no, I'm technical. You guys worry about the law and the regulation. They try and pass it to each other, but eventually it will fall on the AI guy. The head of AI must have systematic controls. They must be the operator of those controls. So whoever's got, so in an organization, the technical leaders will own AI governance. From a career perspective, if you're not technical, then there is absolutely a career for you in advising organizations on structuring the people and the process around it.
Okay, I see. That's interesting. What about people who are already in compliance, data, risk, but do not have any understanding of AI? What about the future for them? So do you see them going to be taking over slowly the AI governance, or do they need to have some understanding of AI before going into it?
Well, anyone that has no understanding of AI is going to be out of a job. It's like they're gonna struggle within their jobs within 5 years. Already, like my team, the people that I hire now, the primary skill set that I look for is not sales, product, marketing. It's actually, are you AI native? Because the staff, every single staff, that new hire that we have, our baseline requirement is you're going to have to be an operator of agents that are specialized in your role. So sales roles, you have to be specialized in operating sales AI agents. If you're a technical person, same. So anyone that says, I don't know AI, I have no appetite in knowing AI, then I hope you have enough money to retire in 5 years, because you're not really going to have much opportunity after 5 years. Now, if we're talking about compliance people or legal people who are interested in how AI impacts us, have a curiosity about it, that is absolutely fine. You still need to be using AI yourself, and you need to have an appreciation of AI to understand the risks of AI. You can go there. You don't have to be a developer, really technical people, but you need to have a curiosity and an appetite to understanding how it works.
Sure, that makes sense. It doesn't have to be more technical in building something, but at least know how it is being used, what are the terminologies around. That would be helpful.
Yeah, so let me give you an example, right? So you need to appreciate the organic nature of AI. And you need to appreciate how it can go wrong. You don't need to be able to configure systems, but you need to also understand that changeability can impact the service that's been delivered.
Sure.
So yes, appreciating a tool does not necessarily mean you know how to maintain the tool or operate the tool.
All good. Here is something I am always curious about, because so many people say that governance may slow down the AI innovation. What are your thoughts?
I understand that sentiment. It's actually going to speed up. Trust speeds up AI adoption. Trust enables AI adoption. Imagine you're in a car and you're driving down this lane and there's no barriers. You've got cliff next to you and pedestrians on the other side. You're going to be really careful about how you drive. Right? You could probably drive faster, but it's very, very risky, and the consequences are really grave. Now, but if you're on a motorway and you've got safety features, for example, the oncoming traffic is separated by a big barrier and distance, and even there is no pedestrians on the other side and there's another metal barrier, it's safer to go faster. In the same way, if you have organizationally, people have put barriers and they've put guidance, for example, how to overtake, then it's a lot safer and people will be more confident and go faster in AI, with AI, if there are the controls in place.
It's an interesting analogy, Ulash. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
So I have a few rapid fire questions. Okay, I'm just gonna read it out. You have to just tell me what comes to your mind as the first thought that comes to your mind. Complete this sentence. The company that ignores AI governance today will blank in 3 years.
Bust. Obsolete. Dead in 3 years. No, will be sued in 3 years. In 3 years, they will be sued in a lawsuit in 3 years. For sure. Dead in 5 years, in a lawsuit in 3 years.
Wow. That's scary. One AI use case that should be banned globally immediately.
Impersonation. Fake news is really impacting how we see reality. So anyone pretending to be someone else should be very heavily regulated and in fact banned. Or unauthorized impersonation.
Perfect. One tech leader you follow on LinkedIn to know recent updates on AI governance. You cannot say Gorkam said it. You have.
Co-founder. He's the oracle. No, he is amazing, but I can't say to him. So I would say Dallas Bischoff. He was one of the architects of AI governance, and he remains on the cutting edge. A lot of respect for that guy.
Sure, thanks. In your opinion, AI regulation moves too slow or too fast?
Just right.
Just right.
I think so. Yeah, in certain regions. In some regions, too slow, but in Europe especially, it's just right.
Okay, perfect. What about in US?
No, not right. Too slow.
Politics.
US's approach to AI regulation is similar to gun regulation. In most parts of the world, having people carrying guns around is not an acceptable way to live. Similarly, that's how they're approaching AI regulation. I think it's bad for business.
Name one AI governance framework or standard or regulation that you admire the most. You just think that they just nailed it. Which one is it?
EU AI Act.
Oh, okay.
No one's nailed it, but the EU AI Act has come the closest. Yeah.
No? Perfect. One word to describe the state of enterprise AI right now.
Lagging.
What's the one question every board should be asking their CTO about AI right now?
What is my AI risk?
Mm.
The answer will be, I don't know.
What scares you most about AI that nobody's talking about?
What scares me about what? The state of AI, did you say?
What scares you most about AI that nobody's talking about?
Training. So everyone is deploying AI, everyone's excited about AI, but there's not enough training in understanding the safe use and potential. But if we're talking about what's scaring me is training about the safety, AI safety, there's not enough education about that. And it's going to be really painful for many people.
Biggest misconception about AI governance?
Compliance. Governance is not compliance. And people often use that interchangeably, and it's wrong.
Although it's a rapid fire, I really want you to differentiate that for me, please.
Yeah. So why should we do something is the question that is asked often by the C-suite. And the thing that they focus on is, well, is there regulation that's coming up? Because it's like easy to point out, oh, well, if there's regulation, then we're going to get fined, or we're going to have our license revoked. So let's wait for regulation. That is an awful way of thinking about the company's or the organization's safety, because regulation is that you're doing it so badly that it's illegal. It's drunk driving. Do you really want, is that what you aspire to? I'll drink just, but until it's become illegal? That's not what people should be aspiring for. Secondly, regulation is not there to protect your business. It's there to protect consumers.
Sure.
So you could absolutely wreck your charity, organization, where you work, without falling foul of regulation. They are absolutely different things, and companies and AI professionals and AI governance professionals really needs to get used to articulating that our safety, our future, our security is not provided by being compliant. We have to take care of our safety within the context of our own organization. That's a big mistake that people make, and yes, I'm quite passionate about it, as you might notice.
That's great. So, one country that needs the most AI regulation?
US.
One country that has the best AI regulation?
European Union.
Okay. Last question. Best piece of advice you have ever been given?
Get therapy. I was born in the 70s. So when therapists talked about, it's like, oh, like, do I go into an asylum? Is there something wrong with me? That is not absolutely not the case. Nobody's had a perfect childhood. No one is even aware that the emotions they feel impacting their work decisions and their work conduct. There might not be anything that's obviously like wrong, but when you understand how you feel things and why you feel things, you are a much better professional, partner, parent, friend, better human. So yes, that's the one.
Thanks for sharing that. It'll be helpful for so many people. So last thing, this or that, you have to choose. Governance or compliance?
Governance.
NIST framework or ISO 42001?
Yeah, 42001. The ISO was done.
ISO 42001 or OECD principles?
42001.
Okay. ISO 42001 or EU AI Act?
Well, they're two different things. What means? But you know, okay. If I must go by your rules, then I'll go with the EU AI Act. At least it forces people to do some things, which is actually a good step forward.
So true. So true. We are at the end of the session. Thank you so much for joining. I got some really valuable information. I'm sure people listening to it will definitely get to know about making right decision about the future opportunities in AI governance. Thank you so much, Ulash. Do you want to share something before we leave?
No, it's been fun, and look forward to you all visiting us on our website. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Okay.